Yes, people, welcome back to the first 11. It's grounded football on a Wednesday night. We've got Prime, Kesh, Niall. Niall runs a show here on a Monday, the EFL show. Kesh, obviously part of the Terrace. He's part of this show. He's on EGTV. And Prime, part of the Football Terrace and part of XI as well. You can also catch him on other shows, as you know. We're going to be talking about financial fair play rules being scrapped, what that means for football. So what that means for football from League Two all the way up to Champions League, what it means for the Premier League, what it means for the big clubs, what it means for an Arsenal or Man United compared to a Man United, compared to a Man City and Chelsea. So we're going to, firstly, I want to start off with Kesh at Arsenal. If these rules are scrapped, what does this mean for the Premier League?
For me, I don't think it's helped Arsenal in any way or any other team in the Premier League. I think from the moment it was brought in, the rules was bent. UEFA was really soft. They couldn't uphold their own rulings. So for me, I don't really see it affecting clubs of such sort in the Premier League. Perhaps maybe the lower teams in the lower leagues, maybe, but I don't think it will affect Arsenal much.
You don't, in terms of competition, you don't think it's going to. What about long-term effects? You don't see any long-term effects. I mean, if you have a
I, I
Chelsea and
mean,
Man City just going
I
bang
mean,
crazy in the market.
these clubs been going bang crazy in the market. Like none of us are blind to it. Has
Hmm.
FFP ever helped anyone? Really, really and truly, if you deep it, I don't think it's helped anyone.
I think they would have spent more. I'll be honest. Because of what you just touched on, Niall, obviously being a Plymouth fan and knowing League One and League Two, what's your thoughts on how this could affect the lower leagues in football?
Well, to put it simply, everyone remembers what happened to Bowie, right?
Hmm.
We'll have at least another 10, 20 of them. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. The issue with this is the Premier League will spend more. You'll have to then spend more to stay in the Premier League. It's a dominoes effect then, because then the
Mm.
Championship will spend more to get into the Premier League. Then you have to spend more to keep in the Championship, and it goes on like that, which means that money then just goes up in the lower leagues. It makes it even harder to stay afloat. I mean, it's hard enough as it is already. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm I'm not going to be. I'm not going to mince my words. The Premier League have done nothing for the lower league clubs anyway. In fact, what they've done is harmed most of us. Like I'm lucky that my club has an owner that is a fan, that is willing to put the money in, especially over coronavirus. But I think about how much these clubs have spent. I mean, Chelsea spent £250 million in the transfer window. That is the equivalent of what the entire EFL has as a bailout over coronavirus. So to put it into to perspective, Chelsea spent an entire transfer budget is what the entire 72 clubs in the EFL needed to stay afloat. And I think it's ridiculous. And I'll probably get slated by Chelsea and City fans for saying this, but if anyone actually thinks this is a good idea, you're very selfish because you don't understand the effects that this will have way down the pyramid. Even the Vanarama Conference, the Conference North and South, the effects it will have into grassroots, it will make things just so much more difficult. We will see many more clubs enter administration. The EFL is full of clubs entering administration all the time. I think at Southend, we have Bowie, Argyle were in administration. So when I hear financial fair play, I'm like, well, that's good. It evens it a bit. When you take that, what it does is it dangers at least 20 to 30 clubs. I mean, probably every club in League Two will now struggle when the effects really happens, when the money starts being pumped in by the cities, the Chelseas, the dominoes effect will happen, and then it will just make it
Hmm.
even more difficult for them to stay afloat in the football league.
I
Yeah.
don't. The thing is, I don't totally agree with that because these clubs were surviving before FFP came in. Yes, they might struggle a
Barely.
bit, but I don't think it will force. that many clubs to go bust. The money will always filter through down to the lower leagues, in my opinion. I think it's just about how those lower leagues manage their finances.
The money, I want to agree with you, but to put it brutally, money doesn't filter down. That's the harsh realities of all of this. The TV deal that the EFL gets compared to the Premier League is pathetic. It
But
is.
can I ask you something? Is it for me? The way I see it is the Premier League. They're well gone. They're in good tier. I think the Championship is also like that as well. I think it's once you get past the Championship down from League One further down, I think that's where it's kind of not get filtered through enough.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Or am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. You're pretty much right. The FA and the EFL have made no qualms in that they don't really care about Leagues 1 and 2. That's quite clear. You very rarely see Leagues 1 and 2 games on Sky, whereas you get a Championship game every week. So the EFL, they don't hide the fact that they don't really care about Leagues 1 and 2. I mean, what I've always wanted is that, it's going off topic a little bit, is that the EFL just got rid of Leagues 1 and 2 and allowed someone else to run that, or got us a TV deal separately. So whereas you see BT with the TV deal with the Vanarama Conference, and they play their games regularly and they get the money for that. What I would love to see is, because BT are very much up for that. BT love the leagues in all of that, a more diverse group. I'd love to see BT take over the rights for Leagues 1 and 2. Sell them as two separate, because what they do at the moment is they sell it all as a package. So what I would like to see them do is sell it as Championship and then Leagues 1 and 2 as a group, whereas BT can then bid in and take that, or even BBC or ITV. That way you might actually be able to survive this. The issue is the money just doesn't get down there that far. It gets to the Championship. Just don't get the parachute payments and all of that massively helps the teams in the Championship. There is no such thing as parachute payment in Leagues 1 and 2. I mean, my club got relegated from League 1 a couple of years ago, went straight back down to League 2. Luckily enough, we're in a good position that we could just bounce straight back up. Not every club's like that. And if you fall out of the Football League, you're in even more trouble then.
I'll get that.
There's also like over 70 fan bases, if you like, between those leagues, right? That's a lot of people. 72, yeah. So that's a lot of people, and I know these people love their clubs. Like, I watch your show, I know this. You know, it's a shame. It is a real shame. I want to ask Prime a question, being a Chelsea fan. Do you see it as okay, Chelsea can go out and just blow clubs out of the water, and you know, like a Man United or Arsenal, who have got money, by the way, they just don't invest, they don't spend it? Do you just see it as like, well, that's your problem, or do you think it's bad for football?
From a selfish point of view, yeah, sure, it's awesome. It means we can splash 300 and get Haaland and Sancho and Kane and Mbappe and Messi. But realistically, it's not good for football. Even for the bigger clubs, it's not good, because that just raises this transfer value and the wages for players even more, which means you're going to be in bidding wars for players for like 300-400 million, which is ridiculous. But yeah, even in coming down towards the lower leagues, this is a very selfish reason why they're doing this. To me, it seems, or it looks like it's. There's something I read on Twitter, and it may have been a bit of a joke. Maybe it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but it seems like they're doing this for the bigger clubs in Europe to quickly rebuild, like Barcelona and Real Madrid, because it allows them to just buy who they want without much fuss. PSG, they already have their money, but they can just, if they want right now, they can go out and get Messi. Man City can go and get Haaland without much fuss. Like it's in my opinion, it's ridiculous. But again, they don't care about the lower league sides, which is disgraceful. But
We're
Hang
used
on.
to it. We're
Ultra
used to
Parisia
it.
makes a good point. It's saving some big clubs
Yeah.
like Barca with their debts. Yeah, I mean that's part of it. I think I wouldn't really have a problem with it being relaxed in terms of clubs can spend more money, but still be capped. Do you know what I mean? Like, relax the rules a little bit, open it up a little bit, but just to completely get rid of the rules is just madness. Can you imagine, like, if you're I don't know, like, for me, I'm a Man United fan, right? Let's just say we were going in for a Jadon Sancho. A Chelsea, they might have seen, before this happened, they might have seen Sancho as a target, but not a priority, because they've had a certain amount of money to spend. Maybe they wanted a striker and a centre back. Now they can be like, okay, well, let's get Sancho as well. We'll just blow teams out of the water. Bear in mind, this decision is going to be made on Friday, I'm told. The reports that I read.
Like for example, with Chelsea, like Niall said about how we spent like 200 whatever in the summer, and that's like what lower league clubs are going through. We spend that money, and I know net spend is not really what people think it is, but we essentially spent that because of what we had sold. So like with Hazard and Morata and stuff, like we were able to kind of accumulate that money anyways. Plus we had the transfer ban. Like this summer, if the rumors are true and we do want Haaland and Sancho and a centre back and stuff, that is probably another 200 mil. We could do that selling some of our assets we already have that we don't want, like Bakayoko or Rudiger or Christensen or Zuma. Like we can kind of balance that, if that even makes sense. But you have, I mean, for Man United, it doesn't, from a selfish point of view, for Man United, it just means that Woodward will spend a ridiculous amount on a player because it's financial fair play. You have the money, you can spend it, and it's also Man United. You'll get extorted for an average player and end up spending like 100 mil, or it's.
No, I don't think it will, Prime. I think for Man United, there's the excuses are already there. It's a new structure. It's a new plan. It's going to take time. They're already making excuses about the amount of money they can spend. Don't worry about Man United. They're not looking to spend money, Prime. Trust me.
I know, but you know what I mean. It's like money's already crazy in football. It's just it's making it worse when it doesn't need to be. And in terms of the lower leagues, like in England anyway, they always talk about how they care. But during this last year, with lockdown and seeing how there's no no one helped league, like the likes of League One, League Two, conference. No one
wanted to. No, you're missing the point there. They wanted to, but we had to agree to a certain amount of things for that to happen. So for us to get the 250 million, we had to agree to the Premier League's new. I don't know if you saw it. The new big picture rules things that came out. We had to sort of agree to sort of stuff like that, and the only way that we would get the 250 is if everyone agreed to do that, which then gave the bigger sides even more power in the Premier League. And it's just utterly ridiculous. Like, that's the issue. Like, when the FA say they care, or the EFL say they care, they're met with just hysterical laughter from every single club in Leagues 1 and 2, because we're like, you couldn't give a damn. Like, to put it into equivalence, Bury lost their club because they didn't have £10 million. £10 million was all they needed. Yet we're seeing how much for Haaland and all of that. And the 250 it wasn't a dig at Chelsea. I know how they do it. That was just saying that, look, they spent £250 million on players. That's the equivalent the 72 clubs wanted to survive the pandemic. Like, that's where the priorities, and it's not Chelsea's job to bail out the lower leagues. It's not in fact the club's responsibility. It's the Premier League's responsibility to bail out not in the circumstances of they've spent too much, they've done it themselves sort of thing. But when we're in a raging pandemic where no club in the lower leagues have had fans in their stadiums, which is the main source of income for these clubs, when we're asking for like £250 million, that is just to get us through the season. Like we're doing this so that the Premier League can still have their competition, because if we didn't play our games, you can't have relegation, so you can't in theory do your competition, and we would lose out on even more money as well. But it wasn't a dig. It's just saying that, look, we wanted £250 million to survive. Chelsea spent that on players in the summer. It's just football is just absolutely mad.
It is. What about though? Firstly, everyone smash the like button. Please do that. Share it if you can. Get in the description. Go and follow everybody. You know how it works on this channel. What about the flip side of this? What about the big clubs? And I don't mean big clubs in terms of money. Well, I do in a way, but not just like with big owners, sort of like rich owners. I'm talking about the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, the big clubs. Is it not good for football that they can go out and buy the top players to rebuild? Is that not a good thing? Do we not want to see that as football fans?
No.
You know what I would say though, There's no coincidence as to why this has been brought up today. If you look at the likes of Barcelona, billions of debt, and football's a business. As much as we don't like what it's turned into,
It's true.
The higher ends that govern football are not going to like Barca just going into financial ruins and not performing at the very top. Someone was always going to come out and give them a saving grace. And what you will see now is Barca will propel back to the top despite having these huge amount of debt. Football for me is, once they brought in this FFP rule, they didn't implement it right. I know we're saying there will be repercussions if they go back on it now and the bigger teams start spending, but the bigger teams have been spending. I don't see any difference as to what it was back in 2008. Back then, it's always been the same. Nothing's changed for me. You see what City's done. City's been spending for how many years doing whatever they're doing. Obviously, they've been proven not guilty, and we have to take it as what it is. But Chelsea's been spending.
Yeah,
There's a lot of teams that have been spending big, and it's not made them deter from that.
I think if there were pictures taken at that hearing, there would have been a suitcase or two full of cash. But that's just my opinion. You know, big brown envelopes and all that. So, Prime, what you said no. You don't think it's you don't want to see that happen. You don't want to see the Real Madrids and Barcelona's go out and rebuild from this.
No, they can rebuild, but people are going to say this sounds hypocritical because I'm a Chelsea fan and how we came up. But rebuild properly. Don't have like having no financial fair play, meaning you can do what you want. No, because even with Chelsea, I know we bought our players and we built a team, but we still couldn't necessarily do what we want. We still had to fight for our Premier Leagues and eventually get a fight for our Champions League. We had to fight to get there. For that, because Real and Barca, right, as bad as they are right now, they can still win La Liga. So that's not trouble for them. They're still somewhat of a threat in the Champions League anyway, as bad as they are.
I understand what you're saying though, but what you're saying doesn't reflect on what's happened over the last few years. For Barca to be in this much debt, that means they was being overlooked in the first place.
But it's their fault.
I know, but FFP overlooked them. They've allowed them to do this. If this was any other club, they would have been a crackdown. But because it's Barca and Madrid, they get away with it. So I don't see what FFP is actually doing to stop these things. They ain't been doing their job. It's like the rule is there, but it's not being implemented.
And that's why I don't like doing this. Is just a cop out on the way out of it. Barca spent their money stupidly over the past 3-4 years. That's why they are where they are. Real Madrid, when Ronaldo left, didn't spend properly.
Yeah.
And they are where they are. This just gives them a cop out and a way to bail themselves out of it. Like it's not fair. Even for the likes of Chelsea that have all this money, it's still not fair for the rest of football.
But is it though, Prime? Because I mean, you've got like Villa's owners and Everton's owners.
Yeah,
they're in like I think they're in like the top 10, maybe 5 richest owners in the league. Does it not help them?
No.
Does it not help them though? Because they're my argument is, does it not help them because they can now push money into signing better players? I mean, Aston Villa would love it. If Aston Villa could put some money into buying players from where they are right now, keep hold of Jack Grealish, John McGinn's, they go out and buy a top striker.
Why would they keep hold of? What makes you think they could keep hold of Jack Grealish?
Because they could go out and spend big.
But if financial fair play is lax, then we can all spend money. Why?
Well, I think they're more likely to keep. Because I think they're more likely to keep hold of a Jack Grealish.
I think it makes it worse for them. Because why can't a team like Man United or Chelsea or Real Madrid spend 150 and buy Jack Grealish?
Because for a Jack Grealish, I think it's slightly different in that he might want to see where this. He's still young, right? He might want to see where this project goes for the next 2-3 years.
Well, it's Chelsea is a bigger club. United are a bigger club. Real Madrid, Barcelona.
Yeah, cool. But that's fine. But he's a Villa fan. I'm saying Jack Grealish is an example here. He's a Villa fan. He loves that club. He's the captain of that club. Don't you think if the owners, who are, I think they're richer than United owners, can go out and buy some top players, he might want to see that through for another season or two? You think, or you just think a Man United or Chelsea or Man City comes in and he leaves? Because I don't.
Well, money talks, and if it's the right amount of money, he will go.
But they can put him on a new.
It's different. It's different with a homegrown player. We've had him at Argyle, and if you're telling, look, if you're the Villa owners, you sit Jack Grealish down and you go, we're spending £300 million in the summer. We're going to propel this club into Champions League. Jack Grealish, being a Brummy boy and being a Villa fan, he's gonna want to lead his team out in the Champions League at Villa. He ain't gonna walk out not captain at a United. He's gonna want to walk out in a European night in the Champions League against a Barcelona or someone like that with Villa. That
100%.
That is every boy's dream. Like,
why are you saying that? That means FSP being scrapped is a benefit to Villa then, because that's giving them the inspiration and the knowing that they can actually go and keep Jack Grealish and promising that they're going to bring in players of a substantial level to play with him. I think that works in their favour.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't. You're saying Aston Villa up against Barcelona. If no player Aston Villa can attract will be even half the level of a Barcelona.
It's not. No, it's not.
With that money,
you're missing the point.
With that amount of money.
That's not what we're saying though. Remember,
you're missing the point, Prime.
There's lots of substantial players who's at the level to play in Champions League. Barca's not going to want all of them. They can go and identify players of that level that can keep them at that elite level and actually compete in the Champions League. I'm not saying they're going to go and win it or they're going to beat Barca, but the level, good enough level players that can compete in that competition. If you can promise and sell that to Jack Grealish, which I think with financial fair play being scrapped, I think it's more than plausible.
There is one downside to it though. All the other teams above Villa are going to be doing the same thing. So you could just essentially
Everton.
See a status quo sort of thing. You could just, because let's face it, United have more money probably. They'll probably spend more money. They have quite a good academy and stuff like that. Chelsea will definitely do it. City will definitely do it. Even Spurs probably will do it. Liverpool probably won't do it because FSG are a bit crap. And I think they're still on the sell to buy sort of thing over there. But I just think that for some clubs it's a benefit, but overall it's going to be a negative. But selfishly, I would love to see like a Barcelona spend all the money, lose a lot, and just genuinely not succeed. and then Barcelona actually no, and then Barcelona lose their club, because then that will wake every single person in Europe up and go, okay, this is bad. Because the more money you spend, the higher the risk. So
I get what you're saying.
if for example, if United went and spent £1 billion on players over 2 years, I'm not saying they would, but as an example, and then United go bust because they got no more money, and the owners aren't going to put any more money in, you've got people on ridiculous contracts, and United lose the club, every other big club in Europe is going to look at that and go, no, sell a load of these, get some players off their big contracts. It will then do that. So I think for selfishly, because everyone is selfish, but in a way to fix this, you need a big club to spend lots of money and lose their club for it. And then only then will every other club in Europe wake up and go, okay, it's a bad move. Because
but now this has been, maybe to not necessarily that extreme, but this has been happening. Barcelona have been spending badly and they're getting worse. But yet financial fair play steps in and Barca and Real are allowed to rebuild. It's not. It won't get to a situation where it'll be that bad where a big club will get relegated or something.
I'm not saying relegated, mate. I'm saying they go bust, as in they've spent.
Nah, they'll never go. They'll find a way around it.
No,
they'll find a way around it. Trust me, they will.
It's clearly seeable that it could easily happen. You have, right. So let's say your owners for the first 3 years are really keen on it, and then the club loses their money, right? And then you've got players just on ridiculous contracts, and the owners are like, we're not putting any more money in, like you're wasting all our money. And then that club doesn't have that money, then you could easily see at some point.
It's still too big a brand.
The thing is, Barca is more than just a football club; it's an institution. Yeah.
Yeah.
The amount of money that they bring in football is impeccable. Even if that was to happen, the rules would then be bent again just to keep them alive. There's just absolutely no way FIFA, UEFA, whatever would ever let Barca go bust in a way that they disappear. It just would never happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll just
agree.
go to a new camp and steal all their money for our goal. That's cool. Then they'll go bust. Then they'll go bust, I swear.
And then you'll be behind bars.
It's fine. As long as Argyle have that money, I'll do jail time for it, mate.
Listen, let me ask you another question. Let's look at this from another angle. I'm going to do a show on this for the United on this channel. But what about fan bases in terms of the Liverpools, and hopefully Steve will be here soon. Liverpool's, Man United's, the Arsenal's. Is this a good thing in a way for the fan bases to be like, okay, because we know what our owners are like, right? They're not going to, although they can, they're not going to spend like the Romans. They're not going to spend the Chelseas and the Man Cities. They're just not going to put that money in.
Just makes
is this a good thing for fans to kind of come together in a way and be like, you can spend if you want to. Like the problem is the owners.
No, that makes it worse. Because
it makes it worse.
Either it's, you know how fans always say, well, the player's right there. Just spend the 50 million, get him. There's literally now no excuse because it's like a thing of, well, there's no financial fair play. But we can spend 100 on this guy and 50 on this guy and 60 on the next.
In terms of I'm talking more Man United and Arsenal, bro. I know, blaming the manager for problems.
I know that's what I'm talking about. It's either that or your boards will spend big money signings or a big money signing, say every 2 years or something, on the wrong player. So you spend 85 on Maguire when you could have gotten much cheaper, probably the summer before or something. Or you spend 72 on Pepe when you could have got Zaha for 60 mil or something. They'll do ridiculous things like that where you're spending big money but on the wrong signings or on the wrong areas, or you're overpaid. So
what's your thoughts, Kesh? Is it a good thing or a bad thing in terms of fan bases looking at the owners and seeing the real problems at the clubs?
I think all fan base should do that. But the thing is, you got people that are just blinded, and because they're so blinded and they think the owners are running a club well, and they just leave it down to managers and recruitment, the owners get away with it, and they tend to continue making these mistakes. But until fan bases like they come together and be as one and actually identify the real problem, then these owners will continue to make these mistakes because they're not gonna improve it once the fan base is still split.
Niall, what's your thoughts? Because I know you follow a lot of the Premier League. And you talk a lot about fans. Actually, you spoke to me a few times about fans with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and your thoughts on Arteta and things like that. So, what's your thoughts on it?
I may have called every Ole out or an idiot, but that's my apologies for that. But nah, the thing is, it's sort of similar to what Prime said. I mean, yeah, you can have all the money in the world, but your clubs just aren't spending it in the right way. Like, I remember someone told me that apparently it was a couple of years ago, Jose or someone was said, you don't need De Ligt because you got Phil Jones. All right, then they're nowhere near the same level, but cool. Like, that's the issue. It's not that you haven't got the money; you've got the money. United have the best person who can make money. Like Ed Woodward, in terms of like, Ed Woodward is the Haaland of making money. Like, the man can make money out of anything. Like, he's absolutely world class here. When it comes to spending the money, he's like a Conor Gallagher at West Brom. He's like horrific at it. Like, he can't.
Can you tell Chelsea fans? Can you tell Chelsea fans that he's horrific because they won't listen?
He's a West Brom for a reason, mate. Like, not many players are on loan at West Brom if you're going to make it big time. Look at Phil Foden. He's not a West Brom because the boy can make it. Like, I think it's just about it's about spending the money in the right places. Like, Man City are the best run club in probably the Premier League, alongside probably Chelsea. I mean, their setups is just they have
that's different though, because that is also down to the way they spend money. So for Man City, they spend a lot of money up front rather than buying players over the length of the contract, which means they genuinely get the price lower and get the player. So, it's a bit different. But RDS, welcome to the show.
Sorry, I'm late. Apologies again.
No worries, man. Life of being a doctor and all that.
Busy night shift, man. I mean, I walked and I heard City run well, and all I have to say is, where's their Champions League? That's all I have to say to that.
Don't do that. Don't jinx it.
You know how it works. Over the last 4 years, we beat them in the derby, and then they get knocked out in the quarters. That's the pattern for the last 3 years. So we beat them in the derby this year, didn't we?
Is that you bragging?
That's not me bragging. That's just I see a pattern. When you see a pattern of trends, it is what it is. So we beat them in the derby this year. Let's see what happens.
Don't you normally get to a semi-final of the FA Cup when that happens?
No, this was under Mourinho as well. When in that second, we beat them in the derby, and I think that was when they lost to Liverpool. I think. Spurs. That was Spurs, I think.
And what about your patterns of winning Premier Leagues?
Our patterns of winning Premier Leagues. Well, we've got 21, don't we? So it is what it is.
Wait, you have 21?
Sorry, 20. Sorry, 20. I'm getting.
You're still thinking it's coming this year.
They did have like 21 away wins this year or something like that. So
no, it's 23. 21. I'm beaten in 23, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was 21 at some point, wasn't it? So maybe that was the 21 that was the 21 you lot were on about, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, we're second in the table, you know what I mean? So we're such a terrible side that, other teams must be worse, So, but it is what it is. Sorry, but I'm interrupting. I was interrupting the point. City, as to Indiana's point, City, an amazing club. They're going to win the Champions League. Pep is going to get his quadruple, and that's what's going to happen.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not having it. Reality.
Say that again.
So City. Pep Guardiola is the greatest manager in the world. Okay, City are going to win the quadruple, and we're gonna be worshipping Pep Speed. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna
Who's we? You mean you as a City fan?
I'm saying me as in like I'm putting this out there, just out there now, so if it doesn't happen, then no one can complain.
Maybe you be using some of that judge for Ollie, but
Stop this. Stop this right now. Stop this. Here's what's happening. Mourinho
you involved in what I just said.
They'll get knocked out the Champions League by Munich, and everyone knows.
I don't even want to think about Man City, man, because Mourinho's going to beat him in the cup final, and then they're going to, yeah, he will, and then they're going to go out of the Champions League. They're not going to win. Chelsea will win the FA Cup, and they'll end up with one trophy, and that's the way it will be. The Premier League.
The Premier League.
Yeah. Tuchel is the truth, isn't it, Indiana? Tuchel is, I mean, prime Tuchel, man. He's really.
I wish Jem was here for that, but I wanted to ask you about financial fair play, and if the rules are scrapped, and what you think because it's not done, right? But if that happens, what that means for the league, what it means for football, and what it means for obviously Man United, being a Man United fan.
What I actually think is it just means that clubs are going to go broke, because from what I understood, the whole purpose of financial fair play originally was that clubs should not spend what they generate. Fundamentally, that's fundamentally what the purpose of it is. So if we put aside big teams for a second, I'm thinking even lower divisions, League One, Division One, etc., where you can take out multiple bank loans and borrow and do all those things and spend. Okay, let's say your League One side like Colchester. Oh, I've taken a bank loan. I can now spend £100,000 on getting this top player, so that we can then progress to the Championship and then get more revenue. If that works, great, because then you've got the additional revenue from the Championship and the competition, stuff like that. Cool. But if it doesn't work, you've obviously got the massive amount of interest you got from whatever loan you took and the consolidation, etc. So, and if you do that successively, then before you know it, the club is in problems, in liquidation, and so on. So I always saw financial fair play as it was supposed to be protect, small to mid-range clubs from overspending what they couldn't break in, thus, dissuading poor management, top-tier business decisions, and you getting like a Bury or what's the other thing, Bury or Derby sort of situation where the club potentially might go into solvency because they just can't afford anything. That's what I thought the purpose of it was. Obviously, if you're a bigger club, or if you're a Saudi owner, they completely abuse it. So I guess in summary, what I'm saying is that it's not really going to make. I don't think it's going to make a difference regarding the big clubs anyway, because they're always going to find a way around and spend. But I do think it might have problems for the smaller to mid-tier clubs where the temptation to spend more money than they should so they can get the benefits of the Premier League or Champions League, etc., will be there. And if it doesn't work out, you just might see a lot of clubs that might start disappearing. That's my 2 cents anyway.
No, did you want to touch on that? Obviously, being a Plymouth Argyle fan.
Yeah, on the EFL show, we'll just have a new club in administration every single week that we can announce live on the channel, which will be lovely to see. Absolutely fantastic. No, everything he said is absolutely right. If it works, yeah, it works. It's brilliant. But 99% of the time, it don't work because these leagues are so difficult to even get out of. Like, to get out of League Two, it's not about spending the money. Like, so many clubs have made that mistake. And I laugh when they do it. I look at Salford and I just chuckle to myself. I'm like, you're doing it all wrong. Because you don't get out of League Two by buying the best players. You get out of League Two by having a team unit, good tactics, a good manager, and team cohesion. Like, you get through as a team. Argyle have had some of the worst players in the league and still managed to get up. I remember seeing some of our defenders. I'm thinking, oh my god, most of the weeks watching them, but we still get promoted. It's not about spending your way, but these owners still think it's spending your way out. Like they think, oh, we'll just chuck lots and lots of money. Look at Salford; they're not even in the automatic promotion of League Two. They've spent money. They've spent big money, like compared to like an Exeter that don't spend money yet extra above them. That's
and they panicked, right, and sacked the manager and.
And that's the thing. You need continuity in the football league. You need people who know the league. Like we got lucky at Brian Lowe and all of that, but it's about getting the right people in at the right time. It's not about spending money, but people still spend the money, and we will just see more Burries, Rushton, and Diamonds. We'll see more of these people, more clubs going out of business. I mean, Southend were almost done. Right, Southend nearly ended like Bury this year. And I mean, that's another club. And we're just going to hear continuously clubs going into administration, clubs being liquidated. And it won't stop. The thing is, if you ask UEFA, who do you know, Barcelona or Plymouth Argyle, they know Barcelona. They couldn't give a damn about Plymouth Argyle. That's not their priority. Not even the EFL give a damn about Plymouth Argyle. That's how bad it is to be a League 1 or 2 club. Not even your own league cares about you. Like they genuinely care more about the bottom 5 of the Premier League because they're like, oh, we're about to get them into a championship. This is going to be great. They couldn't give a toss about us. Like, it's brutal. And it's not just FFP. It's like the owner test as well that EFL's meant to do that they don't do. And then you get bad owners in charge of the clubs, which means that you then just get money spent and then you get owners with no money. And it's just the best way to describe League 2 is basically Sheffield United this season. An absolute car crash.
Yeah, no. Listen, people, please smash the like. Subscribe if you are new. Share the video on socials if you can. Get in the description and follow everybody. You know how it works on this channel if you've been here before, but please do that. It's really important. RDS, I wanted to ask you another question. I asked Kesh, will this change the way the fan base look at Manchester United? If the rules are relaxed, we know the owners have money. If they don't go out and spend, would it change the energy? Because my thing has always been like I'm not Ollie in or out, but I think Ollie in or out, in my opinion, is wasted energy. I just think it's wasted because it's not the manager who's at fault here. You know, that it's the employers. And we need to see a manager really build one squad before we can really judge him on how well he is doing. So do you think the attitude towards the owners at Manchester United would change if we, financial fair play is gone and you can spend what you want?
No.
Do you think it's going to make a difference?
No, because Manchester United as a football club generates enough money. So unlike obviously considerably more so than Manchester City do, the amount of money that Manchester United global is not so. And this is why sometimes when people compare United to City and sometimes Chelsea and go, well, you spent this money. Yeah, the money that Manchester United spent is the money that Manchester United generates globally from obviously its fans, advertisement, etc. It's not money that's been pumped in from the club via the Glazers' own pockets. It's money that's generated from commercial revenues worldwide. So that, by definition, Manchester United, even under the current financial fair play rules, can spend, I think I've calculated somewhere, an upset of 200 million. No problem. It's just that with Manchester United, with the board, that 200 million goes into the pockets of the owners in dividends and payments and shares and just, not wanting to spend for whatever reason. Whereas obviously for your PSGs and your Cities to a certain extent and other teams where the money is coming from the owners themselves into the club.
Yeah.
And for any potential future owners that might let's say the whole of Newcastle Sheikh or Alex Salaman decides to come and attempt it again or something, it would be those people where they'd be restricted because, okay, no, you can buy the club, that's fine, but you can't, because the club doesn't have a big enough space, you still can't spend, a certain amount of money because your club isn't generating that. Why? Go on.
Do we have a right as fans to demand that owners put money in and spend money? Do we have a right to do that?
No, we don't. We don't have a right. I think no owner, no fans have a right to say the owner should use their money to go into things they shouldn't. What I'm saying for Manchester United is that this money that we're talking spending is money that is generated from Manchester United Football Club. The Glazers have not barely put any money. They've took out loans they took out loans and basically remortgaged the club. So they haven't actually put any money really at all in Manchester United Football Club. They're just using the money from the loan and the profit generated from Manchester United globally. Whereas obviously Abramovich, Sheikh Mansour, PS Jones, etc., were billionaires, have put their own money into the club. And then now, obviously, after a couple of series, especially Chelsea, they've got such a worldwide fan base that at least they're making sizable profits, so it's still not a problem. But
we're still in debt with our owner. We owe him quite a lot, actually, to be honest. But he's never going to get that. He's never ever going to chase us for it. Do you know what I mean? He'd probably just write it off in many ways. Do you know what I mean? So
because Roman can do that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that it's right. Fundamentally, I don't think it's going to change because FFP for me was never an issue for Manchester United. Never should have been an issue because United generally generate enough money. We just have to spend it.
Trust me, I know. I agree with you as well. I'm just saying that I just don't know whether the question needed to be asked about where the blame actually lies for these clubs: Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool to an extent. Because they obviously you see the Man Cities, you see the Chelseas. I mean, we'll ask Jem now, but Roman just loves to win. He loves to win. That's it. That's his thing. He doesn't care what he has to spend. He will go out and do it. But Jem, what's your thoughts on if the financial fair play is completely scrapped for football in general?
It becomes unfair. It becomes an unfair advantage to. It comes an unfair advantage to people that can't spend the money that Man City and Chelsea can do. Let's be serious. Man United spend, but they don't spend correctly in the right areas. Arsenal, again, same thing. They might buy one player, but it's only going to allow the likes of people like PSG, who we know will just spend crazy. The Real Madrids once they get back to normal. And the Man Cities and the Chelseas to be able to go mad. Do I think it's a good idea? No. I think it's good that financial fair play rules actually in play in my eyes. I think it kind of evens the playing field. Do you know what I mean? Kind of. It doesn't allow teams to go absolutely mental. So, yeah, I would say keep it, mate, in many ways.
But you're buzzing about it anyway, right?
Having
it scrapped and Roman going out and just buying people up.
Yeah, but then at the same time, Chelsea, and it's right what RDS was saying, Chelsea are making so much money in different avenues at the moment. Not only in the marketing aspect, but we've probably got the most lonely players out in the Premier League, probably in Europe. I'm talking about in Europe. I'm not even talking about just in the Premier League. And we make a lot of money from these players each and every year by just sending them out on loan. So there's a lot of money coming in from that aspect of our club. Along with players that we sell, we're very good at selling players as well. We've bought players for quite a lot, which is fair dues. We do spend money, but we also are good at selling players. You know, the way we sold David Luiz, bought him back and sold him again. Do you know what I mean? For decent amount of money. We've just got a history of doing that. You know, we run very well from top to bottom. Like we have an idea, a process, something that Man United are looking to do, maybe potentially now with the Sheikh, but we'll have to see.
Let me ask you another question. But before that happens, people go smash the like, share, subscribe, get in the description. You know the rules here. Go down and follow everybody. Subscribe to their channels. Let's say Chelsea go out and they do another madness in the window, right? And they absolutely kill it. You go on and you win the league. Is there a mark against that for you? Like, do you feel like, in terms of like, do you feel like you would have bought a trophy or bought the league rather than being competitive in a market where there's financial fair play and winning based on an actual achievement? Does that make sense?
The thing is, Indiana, people are already saying we're buying the league based upon last season by spending 200 million. Do you know what I mean?
That's not true though, is it? Because that's over 2 windows.
But no, but what I'm saying is, if we would have won it, people would have said, "Oh, they bought Timo." But say Timo Werner was banging in goals, Havertz was banging in goals, Ziyech was creating, everything was working, it was ticking, it was merry. Say we won the league in style, people would still use that against us. Well, they spent 200 million to win trophies again. It's Chelsea's forte. They spend money and they win. So I don't think it really matters if there's financial fair play in play or not. For me personally, yeah, you've got a point. If it's not there, it's even more of a reason for people to say Chelsea have gone out and spent 300 million. But then a lot of times people don't really, because even though Chelsea might spend that kind of money, if they do, they usually tend to bin a lot of players as well. So they do end up making it back. We sold Eden Hazard for 150 million. Do you know what I mean? And look how well that went for us. If you look at it, he's been awful there. It's not our problem, but we've made 150 million.
Yeah, it didn't go too well for him, did it?
Well, it hasn't, but it has for Chelsea, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? We could have waited for one more season and he might have had all them injuries with us, but we got rid of him at the right time in many ways, So
apparently he wants to come back to Chelsea. You take him back?
My heart says yes because because of who he is and what he's done at our football club, and I'd love to see him in a Chelsea shirt again and playing. But my head says no because I know if he comes back, he's not going to be the same. I ain't going to have the same image of him as I did then because he's just going to be like Gareth Bale as when he's gone back to Spurs. Just shocking. And do you know what I mean? I don't want to have that image of him. I don't want to
be found out, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I don't want to remember him for that moment. I want to remember him for what he was when he was in his prime at Chelsea. So that'd be my answer to that.
No, that's very true. I as a Man United fan, I don't know how you feel, RDS, but I want Ronaldo back.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying they want Ronaldo back to be honest, even if he was to come back, the issue with Ronaldo is that like he'd be playing essentially almost like a centre forward, and we don't create enough chances anyway. So he'd have the same problem that pretty much all of our attackers do, which is they don't get enough chances. So he'd basically have the same problem he has right now at Juventus, where so it wouldn't even work just from the way that we play currently right now, unless you got in multiple creative players. Like it's weird. Like in a City team, I know it sounds strange, but I think he would work. He'd almost be a good replacement for Aguero because I know that in a City team, he's going to get multiple chances created for him and be the focal point in the box. So I think he could probably score fair goals for City, but not for Manchester United. He's not going to get that opportunity.
No, we'll touch on that on the United. Maybe I'll drop you a message if you're around for that when we do that show. But we got to wrap up. Most importantly, because it sounds like my son's just woken up. So, listen, people, please smash the like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can follow everybody actually who's on this show right now in the description. Niall's got a show on a Monday. Me and Gemma got a new show coming up on Sunday. Which would be really good. Going to start promoting that tomorrow, so look out for that one. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.